welcome to Beyond Stereo, the Dolby Atmos podcast. I'm Dan Bucknell, and here we talk about the world of immersive technologies aimed at creating more meaningful and emotional experiences for music, film, and everything else. Joining us today, we have Nick Kozakis.
Thanks for having me on. It's been a minute since we've actually caught up too. So my name's Nick Kozakis, and I'm a director. I'm known for music videos. I've done a lot of stuff for Sony, Warner, Elektra Records, most notably Dance Monkey for Tones and I do a lot of Tones as music videos. With that, I also directed a narrative feature film, which is called Godless, the EASTFIELD Exorcism, which is hanging out in the background here.
Yep.
That was a surprise sort of film that we just kind of got out of lockdown, and we're like, let's just make a film for the sake of making a film. And it did surprisingly well for us. So we traveled globally with it. We won Sitges, which was really cool. We got the Audience Choice Award for that. So that was wild. And just kind of like, it's the gift that keeps on giving, because it's like it's opened up the doors for new films, as well as not only that, just the fact that like it did its victory lap, and then suddenly on TikTok, a guy called Slasher Talk, as well as Colby and all these other people, started blowing it up again. So it got like a second win. So it's been kind of traveling around those parks as well. So we've been really fortunate with it.
That's amazing. I saw it. I bought the DVD or Blu-ray, I think, as soon as it came out, and watched it with my partner. It was awesome. It was so good. I wanted to ask you, like, how did you get into the whole industry? Were you always doing films first, or was it music videos? Like, what was the main starting thing for you?
It's a good question, actually. I started off with being a graphic artist. So I pretty much was in illustration and design, and I really loved that side of things. But I don't know, it just kind of, when I started doing it for work, it would be a paycheck thing. I lost the passion pretty quickly for it. And I knew that like I just needed to have like a solid 7 to 8 hours sleep in order to do that job. And I really just, it was that kind of mundane, I got to get up and do it. And then like it just took one of my friends who had a video camera, and I do mean that, a video camera, which was just so old school. And we decided that we were going to put in some DV tapes and just shoot for the fun of it. And I just reignited the passion of like what I really wanted to do with life. I've always loved movies. I've always loved music videos in particular. I've had a love for music and music videos. And then I just said, you know what? I want to get into this side of things. I want to be a director. Even if it's just for music videos, that's exactly where I want to kind of end up. So I kind of quit my job, started working in a warehouse, and started studying again. I went to Swinburne. Oh, yeah. And then from there, I just kind of, went through the motions of higher ed. I started off at the TAFE, which was awesome, then did higher ed, and then got out and started doing music videos, which was lucky. So hit up bands on MySpace, showing age there.
MySpace.
Yeah, good old MySpace. And then
that's not even a thing anymore.
No. I don't even think the servers work, right? Like,
I'm pretty sure they deleted everything. Like something happened. Yeah.
So it's not true that like once it's on the internet, it's there forever, because things can be removed. So
very true.
But yeah, look, it started off with the music video side of things, and naturally what I was gravitating towards were like narrative-based music videos. It's like you kind of have, the greats like Joseph Kahn, who I just got to meet, and David Fincher, who would always kind of lace in a bit of narrative. And that just naturally evolved for me to get into my own narrative stuff. And that's when we got into, short films and the feature film and all that. So yeah, it's been a pretty crazy ride.
Absolutely. That first one that you were talking about with the video camera, did you ever release that?
No, that was just all like kind of Jackass was the vibe at that point. Okay. So it was just like, I think, it's somewhere. There was, actually, you're right. It was like we did some Jackassy kind of stuff, but like I also did a short film with that too. And It was pretty rough and very raw, and we couldn't even finish shooting it because one of our actors had a falling out. It was a friend, had a falling out with someone else. And so I just animated the rest. And then,
okay.
yeah, so
That's
just
awesome.
like I had to finish it off that way. it helped me get into Swinburne. So I presented that, and Franks, who was the coordinator at the TAFE, was really, really kind of supportive and said, yep, I want you as part of the course, and I owe everything to him.
That's incredible. So what was the first music video then that, you sort of, not necessarily, like a paid gig or anything, but like the first music video that sort of, got you really started into that side of things?
Yeah, so it was part of a TAFE submission. So it was my second year of TAFE, and we hit up a few bands, and the one that responded to us was a band called Tread. I don't think they're together anymore. They haven't been together for a little while, but it was like just kind of like, I think they just all grew in different directions.
Yeah.
But they were kind of the ones to respond, and it was just a pure spec music video. It's still on YouTube. The video clip is called Surrender. It was shot by two different guys. One of them was Sasha, and the other one was Caesar, who I just reconnected with as well. Both very, very talented individuals. They do amazing work. And it was kind of like a bit rough on my direction because it was pretty melodramatic.
Right.
Some of the narrative bits, pretty on the nose, but it was a good one to kind of sink my teeth in because it had a bit of narrative, it had a bit of performance-based stuff, and from there I caught the bug, and then that was like a good launching pad for us to get other ones. So then we hit up other bands. So there was a band called Girl vs. Ghost, and we did music videos for them, and they were really cool. Kind of on the indie scene, but pretty, did really cool stuff. And then the big break was Hilltop Hoods. So that like kind of popped up out of nowhere. So at that point, Carl Allison, a DP that I collaborate with often, he was just like, hey, I just got this job. Do you want to direct it? And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And then from there, we started getting into the labels. So we did Illy and Pez, and, we started working in the hip hop scene quite a bit. And then took a bit of a break, went into the commercial and corporate world.
A lot of people end up doing that as well. Just, sort of keep it all rolling in between.
Yeah. You got a mouth to feed, and
that's right.
Like bills to pay. And then it came back with, like, I was doing a Yarra Trams commercial, and suddenly I get a call from a friend of mine who's a prosthetics artist, Danny Ruth, who is an incredible artist. And she was just like, hey, I've done this amazing prosthetics for a music video, but the production team have dropped off and they're looking for a new team. Can you do it? And I'm like, sure. Got a call from the manager, who's Jackson. And he's just like, hey, I've got an artist, and she's a busker, doesn't have much money, but would really love to get a music video up for a song Dance Monkey. And we listened to the track and we're like, this is great. Not sure if we have the capacity to do it because we were kind of busy at that point. But thanks to Tim for moving stuff around. He hustled it, and Liam Kelly as well, who was kind of there at a time when I was like kind of really preoccupied, and we all just kind of banded together and made it. And then 2.2 billion views later, it's kind of
top of the world.
It's such a weird, you can't even write the number. It looks so like ridiculous when you write it out, and it looks wrong. So it's more efficient to write it. And then it got nominated for an ARIA and all that kind of stuff. So then we were kind of cemented in, a really good place in the music video industry.
I remember we had a conversation a while back. It was before you'd shot it, and you were telling me about, oh, I've got this cool one coming up. It's at a golf course, and you didn't tell me much more. It turned out to be Dance Monkey, and then, global success. Are there any interesting things that happened while you were shooting that maybe you haven't talked about before?
Yeah.
How did that go? How did it all work?
So there was, it was... It was such a, like, you can't laugh at it, but it is just like the luck of it all. But it was so low budget. It was like Tones and her manager could only afford $5,000. It was a $5,000 clip essentially, but the concept was a little bigger. We needed to do some op shopping. We wanted to get some crew on board who did it for next to nothing, but we still needed to hire bits and pieces. We got looked after by Anthony Littlechild, creative head, who gave us like some gear on the cheap. But ultimately we were kind of stuck, so we had to put in our own money into it. But I think it was between Liam and Tim who had a genius idea of hitting up an elderly homes, because, Tones wanted to be dancing with a bunch of elderly people, and that was the vibe of the video clip. So,
which is an awesome vibe. That's such an interesting one. I know Liam's actually in it, right? He plays like
Liam plays a nurse. I'm in it, and there's a reason for all of this as well. So it's and Tim's in it. Like, the whole crew's in it, and the reason for that is they hit up an elderly home, and they volunteered to bring a whole bunch of their friendly elderly to the set so that we could dress them up in golf gear and they could all be dancing.
That's cool.
And the morning of, we got a call saying that they couldn't make it because one of the elderly passed away overnight. So we just lost all of our extras essentially. So we had booked a few through Star Now, which is just such a great resource,
Yes.
we use Showcast and all that kind of stuff, but Star Now gets the job done. And we had and I had a connection with one of the other main ones, who was Antonios Baxavanides, who's like a good friend. And we essentially just kind of made it work. She brought her family, who were sort of, not elderly, but like on the older side. We just kind of made it work, and then we all just had to step in. So it was like, call a friend here to come in, and it was shot at like Ainsbury golf course, which is a little bit of a drive. So people that came in really last minute to kind of help us out. So we had, our second AC, or it may have been our first AC at that point, who was like literally in the scenes, it was like Tim's brother and, Tones's family, and it was just
so cool.
Whatever we could do. But like that kind of awkward luck, let's put it as that. It was a rough one. So that's probably it, But also the weather itself was just kind of rubbish. It was just like overcast. It was like a kind of Melbourne gloomy day, and it was meant to be a fun poppy clip. So Tim and Liam, who had that real expertise in knowing how to like do sky replacement, which was kind of like an early stage in the first, they had to replace every single shot to make it look sunny. So there is not a single bit of sky in that video clip that's real.
No way. I had no idea about that.
Yeah.
That's insane.
All
That's a
sky
lot of
replacement.
work.
So yeah, it was So that was the kind of luck that we had on it, Even just like the car itself, it was like we needed to keep it on the cheap, and we found a convertible, which Tones eventually bought because it's like the first car kind of thing. But
that's awesome.
It doesn't have a roof, like it's permanently open. And then Tim's driving it from Melbourne at like 4 a.m, and the top's down, and he's wearing like 3 jackets just to get it there because it was just like freezing at that point. So it was kind of like the little clip that could, and we just kept pushing forward. And that's like the motto in life with film. It's just like, if you hit a roadblock or like a hurdle, just keep going, jump over it, push through it, whatever happens, you'll get to the end.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a testament to everyone who worked on it, but obviously Tones as well. That it's not actually about how much money you have. It's about how cool the idea is and how many amazing people want it to work, and that is what made it ultimately what it was. And then, like I said, a global success. This is massive, and it was like number 1 for like ages, right?
Number 1, I think consecutive weeks. I think it's broken the record in Australia. I think it hit like number 1 in like 30, 40 countries or something like that. It was just, it just blew up. Like I remember when we were watching the numbers, because like, we knew that she was, kind of doing some special stuff. She had a song before that, which was Johnny Run Away. And that was getting played on like Cole's radio and Triple J and all that. And it's like, hey, that's, and on Spotify, I think it hit like 1 million plays at that point. So it was just like, hey, she's like got a bit of a following and the song's doing pretty well. And we're like, hey, if this gets like 100K views on YouTube, that'll be a good run for us. That'd be cool to advertise and post 100,000. And we did that post, and then very quickly that turned to 1 million, and then very quickly it turned into 100 million. And then it was just like, what is happening here? Then 1 billion came around, and it's just like, I don't even understand. Like a year later, it clocked 1 billion. So
That's intense. What did you say to something like that when you look at those numbers and just go, we did that? How did that feel?
You just become a little jaded by it, because it's just like, I mean, people are going in to check out her song, you know, so it's like that's the first and foremost. Like, it's a very very catchy track, and you know, people are replaying it for that. But like, to see people dress up as like the golfers, and you know, like you've got Macklemore dressing up as a golfer, and then you've got people doing like celebrities around the world doing those, like, you know, their hidden talents, and they're dressing up as her. It was just like, this is really weird to see like the costumes that we bought at like Savers and, you know, sourced from our grandmothers and parents and all that kind of stuff, like, you know, little art department stuff, and they're making things that would have like to make it as exactly accurate as the clip was just pretty weird.
Yeah, that's insane. I mean, it's like iconic now, you know.
Yeah.
And you've done a lot of her videos now. So
yeah.
I mean, what was the next one after that?
So the next one was Never Seen the Rain.
That's right. Yeah.
And that was just a purely narrative-driven performance, and again, not much of a budget on that. So that was like about 10K. So we just kind of hit up locations that we knew. I mean, it's my parents' house. It's my house. It's you know, like, what else have we got? I think it's like our friends and families' houses and like locations that we'd shot in and all that. So you know, we just kind of did it bare bones. And then the next one after that was Bad Child, which had a bit of a healthier budget, because at that point Electra came in, and but still we kind of put everything into that. We wanted to play with different cameras and, you know, use the robot arm, the Bolt robotic camera.
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, and then like we just kind of like, we used the music videos as a platform to kind of experiment and play with different gear. And you know, that was like in the height of COVID as well, so it was just like, you know, we were kind of, you know, at that point we were getting paid to live, you know, and exist, so we were just kind of like reinvesting the money into making a cooler clip. So like the first three, and not to anyone's fault, it was just like what we wanted to do, we didn't get paid for, you know, so it was just like we wanted to make sure that we were putting our best foot forward. Like, that's not to say that Tones wasn't paying. Like, she's been like very generous to pay out of her own pocket to like get the clips off the ground, including ones that she's just wanted to really invest in herself. But yeah, those first three ones were just like, let's just take the money that we would get paid with and put it back into the clip and just make punch it better, a little higher.
That's amazing. Yeah, and it shows, because like these videos are, they don't look cheap at all. You know, like $10,000, that might sound like a lot of money for some people, but in this world, like in this you know, side of the industry, and this gear is you know, really expensive, and the time of creatives and professionals like yourself, it is expensive to make these things. And yeah, I mean, I don't know that everybody realizes how, you know, how fast $10,000 goes. You know?
Yeah. I mean, just catering alone is what the majority of the budget will go to. And then if you do a second day, it's like you're providing snacks, breakfast, you know, lunch or dinner, whatever it might be. And yeah, it's like you got to have people fed, you know, like everyone's going to be like, at the very least, if they're not getting paid that great, make sure that they're fed very well, because then they'll all be happy. And, you know, that's kind of like the best thing about it. So, but you know, just the budget will get chewed up from like catering. Then maybe you might have a location fee, and then there's that, and then your gear fee, and then like, you know, even if you're hiring like 4 or 5 people to come in, and then if you've got talent or whatever it might be, it goes pretty quickly. But, you know,
it does.
You know, in this world, for, you know, when it's not a commercial shoot, most people are generally down to have fun, and that's where we've been really lucky to collaborate with really amazing talent, background talent, you know, all of that kind of stuff. We've been very fortunate to have people graciously give us their time and look after us, and we've hoped to do the same. So
yeah, awesome. It's such a collaborative thing, I think, just in general. Like, it will make a better product if everyone is having fun. You know, that's kind of the whole thing behind it. If you know, I've talked about this before, if you're doing something that is a subjective art form, like making music videos or films or anything, your heart really has to be in it, of course, because if it's not, it just definitely shows, and it can kill the project. People want to see and support things that are positive and fun and feel that because it's real. It's that part of it is real, and that translates, I think. Would you agree with that?
No, absolutely. That's exactly it, and that's why we do it. Why we do everything, right? It's for the passion and the fun of it. Like that's why I couldn't do the other job anymore. Like it was just it became a job and it became work. And then moving into this side of things, it was just like I don't feel that anymore. I don't feel like I'm going to work. I feel like I'm actually doing my hobby and hanging out with my friends. And that's why like I will do stuff not for the paycheck. Someone's just like, hey, do you want to come out and help us shoot something? I will do that. It's like, hey, do you want to help me cut this? It's like I like the problem solving of it. It's just I've chosen to proactively not treat it on a paycheck, because if I do, that's when I feel like I've sold my soul. For me personally, that doesn't mean that anybody else shouldn't get paid, but that's how I work. So
yeah, no, I definitely get that. Like, I mean, we, like you said before, we all got to eat. We all got to, we've all got family and kids and things to do and, bills to pay. But at the end of the day, none of anything that we do matters, I suppose, if we're not putting all of our, care and love into it. So if that doesn't exist, there's kind of no point. Just get a normal job or get another job, where that is certainly more stable, because sometimes
you'll get way more money doing that. Yeah,
exactly. I would say most creatives would understand this, this drive to make something amazing and matter. I think that's what we all want to do, and sometimes maybe it's confused on how to do that. Because it still is expensive, or it's still a hard thing to achieve what you want to do just because you love it. It doesn't make it easy. How would you get around something like that when you want to be following your heart and doing things that matter to you, which we've established is the right thing to do? But how do you do that when you have low budgets and things like that in your way?
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of like, I don't know, I separate my time. Like I'm able to kind of, I'm built in a way where it's like I can do the passion projects with nothing. It's like I will just keep working and working on it and just keep persevering. And then there's the other stuff that'll bring in the money. So that's how you can pay your bills and all that. Like I think that's kind of important for most. But like ultimately, balance. I think the balance. But like you've got to try and find that balance. But like I don't think anything should get in the way of like definitely not money. Try not to let it get in the way. Like, I know that that's easier said than done. Some people are more comfortable than others, but it's just like, if you have the passion, just go out and shoot something. Go out and make something, like it's all practice, It's like to sit here and for me to say, like like I've done stuff without money. It doesn't mean that it's always good, but I've learned stuff from it, like I've learned how to do it better the next time. And when there's money that's involved, it's going to be even better, so it's like, and then when you'll have crew to support you, it'll be even better. So it's like, sometimes it's good to kind of try and do it all yourself, just in that way you can appreciate other departments. So it's all a learning experience. And I think that's probably the best takeaway that you can have from it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Another way I've sort of used to sort of, I guess, qualify anything that's coming in was to think of it like this. There's 3 reasons for doing it, right? For doing anything. And I'm interested to hear your take on this. There's, you could do it for financial, for that reason. Or you could do it because you just really, really enjoy it. Or perhaps it's going to, get you something else in return. So like learning or forwarding your career perhaps, or those kind of things. So you've got 3 reasons. Yeah, so the financial, the love, or some learning experience. And if it's none of those things, don't do it.
Yeah.
If it's one of them,
exactly
one
that.
of them
it's
is
like,
enough,
Yeah, I mean, I just do, like, some people love to go fishing. Some people love to go camping. I just love making film. So it's just like, I'll do it one way or another, whether it's with big cameras, if people are the same way inclined to do something crazy and just be like, yeah, let's just shoot over a weekend. Or if it's just something like, I'll just shoot something on my iPhone and cut it on my iPhone just to have fun with it. So it's like, I definitely think that like that love just needs to be there for it if you want to be in this industry, so because it does take a little while. Sometimes people get up and they start rocketing pretty quickly and pretty early on, but for me it has taken a bit of time to kind of excel. Like, I mean, you and I have connected from back in the Facebook days, like 10
ages
15 years ago. And that's probably because of the fact that, like, we were sort of at that ground level, and then both of us have grown from that because we just don't know how to stop. So
that's right. Well, I think it's a critical skill, I think, to do what you love. If you're doing something that you like, then you're not as likely to stop when it gets hard, because it doesn't mean it's not going to be hard. Like you said, it takes a long time to really achieve, greatness, but if you really want to, because it's enjoyable enough, I guess people say the journey is more important than the destination. That's kind of the same thing. Then, you won't quit. You'll just keep going, and then they're the people that find the success, the ones who never quit. So
yeah, that's basically where it's at now. How are things going with you? I mean, I know your whole thing is to interview people, but like I know you're working on some really cool stuff too. Like, how's Jet going and all the other projects that you're working on?
Jet is good. We're pretty close to like the final cut being ready, and then we'll be mixing, and that's sort of the next thing. So looking forward to that.
And that's a feature film for people that don't know, right?
Yeah. So that's a feature film. So we've interviewed Dia, who is the writer-director from that the other day. Yeah, that'll be coming out soon. But by the time this is out, that will be out as well. But yeah, so she's the writer-director of Jet. It's about a band in Melbourne's sort of metal underground scene. But yeah, so I had to write all the music for that and mix it all in Dolby Atmos, which is awesome. And
That's awesome.
And then the whole movie will be in Atmos as well. So very, very exciting. It's my second Atmos feature.
Wow,
so
that's intense.
It's really cool.
I can't I think Benny, who does our sound, and you're pretty close with him as well, does that side of things too, and I just don't understand it. Just like it's something that I take for granted, but like I appreciate how like amazing it is, but like I don't understand the level of work, so.
Sure. Well, I'll give you a slither of that. I suppose how it differs to previous, formats. It's very much about the additional emotional weight that it can carry. When something is immersive, what we're talking about is not just the technology. It's actually removing the technology. And I'm sure with all of your projects, it's the same thing. What you're trying to do is capture the audience in a way that makes them forget what they're doing. They're not watching a show or a film, or they're just fully into the story of whatever they're doing, consuming. Dolby Atmos just does that in a really, really awesome way, because it doesn't matter what kind of technology you're using anymore to hear the audio. So how we're building that is it's called object-based audio, and I'm sure everyone's going to be over this by the time I finish, because I talk about this all the time. But it's so fascinating because now we mix audio with objects instead of speakers. We don't have left and right, or maybe 5.1, which is 6 speakers. Instead of that, we have objects, which are represented in a 3-dimensional space. So you've got your cube, and sort of represents the theater or the listening space. And when you're positioning sounds, you're putting them in coordinates within that cube, that 3D space. And because of that, the ratios between where they are can be scaled up or down, and your deliverable at the end of the mix can be played on any system. It doesn't have to be a full Dolby Atmos system. It just has to be capable of decoding that, and then putting it into a stereo system sounds better than normal stereo. 5.1 sounds better than 5.1. Or you could listen to it in a theater with 60 speakers. And no matter what, it translates to what the vision was of the director. Yeah, so that's so cool. The amazing thing about it. Yeah. So that's my spiel. Yeah. Have you done anything with it?
I'm pretty sure. I want to say that we have, just in that way I don't like tarnish Benny's work. And he's just like, why didn't you talk about the films that I have mixed in Dolby Atmos? And I'm like, I don't know. I just, I just love what you do, and I don't ask about the technical aspects of it. But
Right.
look, it's something that I really need to research. Like, I appreciate and respect sound so much. I think it's so important to the final piece, and I think that from that perspective, I've learned a lot about cameras. I've learned a lot about the tech and post side of things, but not so much on audio. So, which is why this is a great podcast to kind of listen to and tune into, because I really want to start understanding that stuff and start knowing what I'm talking about when I jump onto these things.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, like you said, it's such a big part of it, and I think everyone agrees. There's the visual and then there's the audio, and there's other dimensions in there, of course, as well, like the story arcs and things like that. But which it's all important, and that's probably the most important thing. But in terms of how you actually consume something, what's your take on that?
I tend to agree. I think they're both they're it's a visual medium and you need it.
They are.
But
yes.
Realistically, we're gonna be able to forgive, and so I've been able to forgive an out of focus shot when it drops, and you've seen it in films.
Yeah.
But you can't forgive bad audio. I think that's probably like the only time where it's just like it needs to be 100%. So I think level of importance, audio needs to always be perfect. We can forgive those like little dips in focus. That's fine, but not audio.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching our podcast YouTube video. I hope you're enjoying it. We're about to show you Godless, the EASTFIELD Exorcisms trailer. There are some strong themes in this video, so if you don't like scary material, maybe skip this part, but we'll be back with the podcast in just a minute. Enjoy the trailer of Godless.
It's been about 3 months. Are you aware when you're dreaming? I know what I'm experiencing and hearing isn't real, but at the same time, I believe it is.
Lara's condition is medical, a mixture of hypomania and paranoid schizophrenia.
This is not her brain doing it. It's not even her.
I'd like to have you under observation.
Absolutely not.
Moving away from medical practice would be unwise.
This is not a medical problem.
What do you believe it to be?
A spiritual one.
Daniel answers to the Almighty and the Almighty alone. Bare your soul to him.
Please, just take me back inside.
Pray with me. Body of Christ.
Godless, let's get into that. When did the initial idea for Godless sort of happen?
So yeah, it was like we were right in the middle of COVID lockdowns, and at that point I was going a little bit stir crazy, but I was having fun. I did not to take anything away from other people that really had a difficult time, and I understand that, but I was fortunate enough to have a pretty okay time with music videos and all that, but it kind of, there was no social factor, right? And I was just like, you know what? This is the time right now to kind of develop and try to do a narrative more than ever. That was that point. And
Definitely.
I'd recently connected with Alexander Anglis Wilson, who he had graduated from RMIT and hit us up, and he worked on a couple of shoots with us as a runner and just had this real energy about him, and he wanted to do something, and he's like, hey, I'd love to write a spec script. And there was a few cases that I'd heard about, doing my deep dive during COVID and going down that rabbit hole of exorcisms and all that, and I found multiple cases about people being tortured to death in exorcisms, and but they were suffering from mental health issues. And I forwarded a lot of that over to Alex, and then he just took it and ran. He gathered as many court documents across multiple cases, and did an awesome job with the first pass of the script. And from there we were just doing tweaks, but at the end of it I was just like, as soon as the lockdown is over, we're shooting this. I don't care what stage it's at. So
Wow.
We finally got to a point where there was some light at the end of that tunnel, and we just went guns blazing into this film. So it was a risk. We did it completely independently. There was no real support. We had some some money behind us, but not too much. At that point, you know, we had producers putting in their own money and, you know, people from the crew reinvesting things. Like Liam, he put money in to like help us out because we did have some investment and then that didn't really kind of work out. So essentially it was just all this money that we owed to friends and family and ourselves. And like I started working at a warehouse again so that I could repay the film. And it was a tricky time to navigate through. You know, Tim, who's my business partner and one of my best mates, you could just see that he wasn't sleeping anymore. You know, he was struggling because he had to try and find this money somehow. But testament to everyone in the crew and the producers that were able to kind of get that money in. But it was a tough time. But like it worked out. It worked out in our favor because the film did well. It sold well. You know, we're in the green and we're like, you know, we've kind of made profits. So it's like, and that's kind of like a rare thing for a film that has no marketing spend or anything like that. But we've been backed by amazing companies between XYZ, between the Coven, Umbrella. They've all kind of helped us get this little engine that could over the line.
Yeah, wow. Like you said, it is a very difficult thing to you know, get funding of any sort, and you know, distribution as well is not like an easy thing. Were there any things that, you know, helped you definitely achieve distribution, like specifically, or what were the things that made that actually happen in the end?
Yeah. So it's all relationships, right? So it's like that helped a lot. So our producers had a relationship with XYZ. So it was just kind of like a matter of like, hey, you know, if you've got something, shoot it over. And that's just from like your networking. You might have set up a meeting or whatever it might be. Might be hard to get them to invest into something, but if you've got a product to like finally take to them, they'd be happy to have a watch. And, you know, XYZ were the first point of call on that. So we took it to them for their sales department to pick it up. And we then got a call saying, hey, this is an interesting one to sell because it's not really a horror. It's not really a drama. So we don't really know what to do with this, but we showed it to our team here at distribution, and it's James Shapiro that like was the real hero of all of this, who wanted to pick it up and distribute it in North America. And that was massive for us because as soon as that faith was put in, you know, it was a big one, and he got us into the festivals that we needed to get into. But also with that, they had relationships with other sales agents. So we had a bunch of meetings with a lot of them, and but it was the first one that popped off, and I wasn't a part of those meetings, but I was getting a lot of it relayed to me. And the one that stuck out the most was the Coven, who was Priscilla. I consider Priscilla like an awesome friend. I've been to France, and she's in Lyon, and she's taken us sightseeing and like, you know, looked after us and all that. But you know, even just the couple times at Sitges that we've hung out, she has always been such a generous person. But like, we owe a lot to her because she took a film that already the biggest sale has gone to, right? So it's like it's already off the table, the US. So it's like for a sales agent to come on board, it's like, well, there's our biggest market gone. Where else do we go? But she's been a big push for cinema release. And we have been in like the top of the box office in like so many different countries. It's like in Mexico, we were like in the top 8, and it was like, you know, every other film was like a studio film. The film above us was Abigail, you know, which is an incredible film.
That's insane.
You know, she's like a big proponent for that. So, and you can tell because they've just now done the Terrifier films. So like they did 2 and 3, and in particular 3 they pushed for the box office, and it's like an like I think it's an unrated film or whatever it might be.
Yeah,
and
I think so too.
Went to number 1 at the box office for like a few weeks in a row, and it's just like, you know, that's her mindset. She's just like, if it's a good film, we believe in cinema, you know. And they don't take on too many films, but I owe my life to it. You know,
That's
we all
incredible.
do. You know, like she's
Yeah.
been a weapon, and the whole team, Kendall as well. Like, you know, and there's someone new that's jumped on board, and I haven't had the pleasure of meeting them yet, but like Kendall and Priscilla have been amazing, and then Ari here with Umbrella, who has shown so much faith in it, and you know, is talking about what we're doing next and all that kind of stuff. So it's just all of these people have just been really cool and been awesome to do this journey with.
Yeah, I suppose they believe in, you know, the filmmakers, and you guys have proven yourselves time and time again that you can make amazing things, you know, with low budgets and bigger budgets. Obviously, you know, that's starting to really show. So, I mean, congratulations, firstly. Like, that's just a massive feat to achieve all of those things.
It's awesome. It took the whole army to get it going, but again, it's just like, you know, between a really dedicated and amazing crew, like, you know, we slugged it out. In particular, the crew and the cast did, you know, and there was, you know, everyone just really believed in what they were doing and believed in the final project, and the ego was in the project, you know. So it's just like, it's massive for them, and it's massive for everybody else that jumped on board. It's like, again, got to talk about Ari and Umbrella, who pushed it enough to get it into cinemas here, to be able to unlock that producer's offset, which helped us get a lot of money back.
Yes,
you know, and it's like they didn't just opt to just get it on streaming. Like, they try to put it in
commercial
different
theaters.
places. So it's like, you know, they were really, really good. And now it's like on Binge and Shudder and Foxtel and all that, and that's all them. So like, it's been a really cool joint team for this whole project.
That's awesome. Yeah. How long was that at theaters for here?
It wasn't long. It was a very limited release. It was just kind of like, you know, Dendy were the ones that kind of backed it and picked it up and all that and played it. And yeah, there was like so many awesome people that I got to meet at each screening and all that. But there were like
Did you go to a lot of them?
screenings that we did. We went to Adelaide. I went to Adelaide, Sydney, and Brisbane. And then they continued to, like, because they sold out, they continued to play it again. So
Yeah, wow.
It was really cool that Dendy were like pushing the film.
Yeah, yeah. Did you have a like a proper like cast and crew screening or anything like that before all of this, or premiere for the film?
Yeah.
How did that go?
Yeah, that was so nerve-wracking. That was the one and only time I've watched the film. So in the sense of like in a cinema, right. We had the cast and crew screening before anything else, so you can't sell tickets to that because then you're kind of void from getting into any festival and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
so it was just specifically cast and crew, and we did it at Hoyt's at the Jam Factory. I think it's gone now. I don't know. Yeah, it might be there.
I think it's still there.
I hope it is, because it's an awesome venue. But we did it there, and I sat in, and I've got my Apple Watch on now. But as soon as, like, it was all fine, all good. As soon as we sat down, before that, did our intro, sat down, and the opening credits came in, my watch spiked. It, like, my heart rate went to like 160 at like resting.
Oh my God.
And it was like, maybe not. Maybe I would have had a heart attack. It went to 100. You know,
Something
it was
crazy.
at 100 or 105 or something ridiculous. And it stayed that way for the entire film until the end credits, and then like it just sunk back down to 80. But I just remembered at that point, I'm just like, I don't think I can do this to myself. And this was like my friends and family and like all that kind of stuff. These are the people that are going to be the nicest to you out of all the screening.
True.
But I also had that thing in my mind where it's like, a lot of these people have put money into it. I hope it doesn't disappoint them, you know? So it was just like, that was really kind of nerve wracking. And then from there onwards, I didn't attend, like I'd obviously attend, intro the film, leave, come back for the Q&A, but I couldn't stay. Even like our MIFF premiere, which was like at the Acme Cinema 1 or 2, the big one. It was that's such a beautiful space. I couldn't stick around. I was like hanging out in the hallway, you know, like luckily nobody walked out, otherwise that would have been awkward. But like, you know, yeah, it was there. You know, at Overlook, same thing. You know, I was looking through the peephole, but like it was still at Sitges, same thing. It's just like I'd walk the streets, like, because all the, the producers are sticking around and cast and crew are sticking around to watch the movie, and I'm just alone. And like everyone I know and care about is in that screening, so it's not like I've got anyone to call. So like I'm literally just walking alone. It's it's like a Green Day song. I walk a lonely road. That's it. That was me.
Just do a proper sing along for this podcast now. Get everyone to do a line of something.
Yeah, just hopefully they're more they're not like off key like I was. But anyway,
not at all. Well, that's such an interesting thing because I mean, I definitely get that. With all the people that you care about, especially people if they put money in, that's very nerve-wracking. I guess more than strangers. And I'm gonna take a bit of a shift now and quickly talk about when I'm DJing or if I'm doing some sort of show like that. It's kind of the same. If I'm doing something that is full of people I know, way more nerve-wracking than if it's 1,000 strangers. And I don't know exactly why that is, but that's a thing. So in all kinds of ways. So maybe you're not crazy.
I don't know. Yeah. It kind of like put me off to the point where it's like, I will always be around, but I might just not be in my seat, kind of thing. But yeah, I did sneak into MIFF like for a little bit, and it just looked and sounded so beautiful. But I was just like, if anyone coughed or shuffled in their seat, I'm like, they hate the film. And then I just left. I was just like, I was so paranoid about that.
Well, you're probably your own worst critic, right?
Oh, absolutely. I like to look at things and be like, how can I improve? How can I get better at this? And how can I do that? Like, again, not taking away the incredible work that everyone did on, like, with little resources, but it's just looking at my work specifically and how I can improve as a director and how I can improve visually and, performance-wise and all that. Like, the talent were the ones really carrying this, and they did such a great job that it helped me look like a better director. But now I know how to become a better director because of it.
Well,
and
that's
then
it.
sort of like give and take.
Yeah. Well, I think that mindset of, I suppose it's the right amount of nerves. Like having no nerves means you don't care if you fail or if it sucks. Having too many means you can't even function to do it. But having some right in the middle there means you care about it, I suppose, and that's how you're becoming better. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's the right amount of nerves.
Yeah.
I had a question about, working with actors as opposed to musicians. So that's an interesting thing. What's the differences there for you when you're directing?
It's interesting. I've been very fortunate to work with very talented musicians that can act. So it's like Harry, who's Masked Wolf, he always wanted to be an actor. So like he understood direction really well. So it was pretty easy to work with someone like him. Tones has now, when she first started, the reason why she wanted to be in old man makeup is because she didn't want to show her face. She was really self-conscious at the start. But she's blossomed into being more confident, about who she is, and she's really loving the person that she is. So she's gained a lot more confidence in front of camera. The big thing is that, with music videos, we can get away with a lot. We can cut away, we can do all that kind of stuff. There isn't too much that we need to use, especially when delivering dialogue. It's never really a thing, at least not in the clips that I've done. Yeah. We can, I think that gives musicians, artists a little bit more kind of leeway where they know they don't have to deliver lines. It's one more thing to know. It's one more thing to get right. Whereas when you're doing looks and all that, you can sort of get away with it. And especially if it's off speed, everything looks cool in slow motion, right?
That's
so
true.
You can look cool, you can look sad, you can look happy. So I think that helps. But with actors, it's like a whole, it's a different ball game. It's, there's a lot of prep that goes into it, rehearsals, understanding the character, having conversations, like getting really in depth with that. So it's like, one is very much in the moment, and it's like, hey, I want you to turn around the corner and look a little bit depressed and look over your shoulder. And it's more about, it's almost modeling in a way, for music videos sometimes. But, with someone like, for example, Georgia, who had to literally play someone with mental health issues and understand the fine line between that and going too cartoony. She did so much research in the back end of like people with mental health illnesses and people that have gone through exorcisms and all that. So then, you know, they know their character so well, and it's about me trying to like manage that behind the camera to make sure she's not too big or too small compared to other people. And that's basically that kind of balance there.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I can sort of attribute that a little bit towards what it's like working with a singer in the studio. And stay with me for a second, but it's just kind of a similar thing where I guess we're almost like therapists, you know, trying to bring out what the right thing is. You know, they're giving us this incredible heartfelt performance, and yeah, we're just shaping it into what it needs to be in the context of what we're doing, and that's pretty interesting. It's like maybe it's the same for directing.
Yeah. I mean, look, one thing that you tapped into, and one of my favorite acting teachers is an actor himself, Peter Carlos. He always, when he directs his actors, he's just like, go into a dark place, go find that place, but don't tell me because this isn't therapy, kind of thing. And he's absolutely right, where it's just like, we know. Actually, someone that taught me this as well was Madeline French, who did our casting. She's also in the film as well, but it's just like, you don't have to know, like, for example, if you're directing someone with a heroin addiction, you don't have to know what it's like to be a heroin addict, but you know what it's like to have some kind of addiction kind of thing. So, sure. Like you could have a sugar addiction, you could have an addiction to gambling, whatever it might be, but it's like trying to find a relatable kind of feeling. It's kind of cool to play with that, but letting them do that work. It's like, I never want to be like, hey, tell me your deepest, darkest secret, but it's just like, it's about just that raw emotion. Like if you put two people in a room and you've got them fighting out, you can give them conflicting direction to give them their point of view. So it's like, like everyone's the hero in their own story, even the bad guy, even the good guy, whatever it might be. So you just go up to them and be like, hey, this person's pissed you off because they've done this. They're in the wrong, you're in the right. And then you go to the next person and be like, can you believe this guy? And then you manipulate that situation to then have them come in together and have that clash. And
that's very realistic.
See that drama kind of unfold.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's it's like the ultimate empathy I think you have to have as a director like that, to be able to see from multiple sides. Maybe you're like a higher dimension. I guess that's the audience's perspective as well, watching it. And you can see everyone's perspective, even if they can't see each other's. And that empathy kind of extends to the actors as well, because really, like, what are they doing if not completely empathizing with another person that is their character? They need to do that and become that person by understanding what it would be like. So I think that's really part of the same thing. That's why directors that understand acting, that's the main role, I think. It's getting the most out of that for the context.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the role of like visual motifs, right? And how they might differ between music videos and films. So I know you could sort of like reuse one idea or have a theme, or a visually reoccurring motif, and like how you do that, because you've got like 3 minutes, or so with a music video that is really contained within what the song is and how long it is and what it's about. But then for a film, it's like a lot bigger. You can fit in a huge amount of content or meaning. So what are some of the ways you might use those kind of techniques to create those motifs in each?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. So it's like, for example, with Godless, we have the motif of slow motion and like doing stuff off speed. And we did that in more of the stylized sections of her mental health state. When she was suffering from her illness, she would see visions, and we kind of, we used that trick to kind of blend that together, and we married that with the traumatic moment. So anytime there's trauma, we kind of slowed it right down to kind of like bring those moments in, and then the other parts are very docudrama. They're raw, they're real, because they're happening in that moment.
Yes.
So it's like you can use it in films. Like, I mean, this is how I've done it, but I almost think that there's no rules sometimes. It's like, especially music videos, I feel like you can get so loose and do whatever you want. You know, like you can have any type of motif you want, but you can jump to animation halfway through the video clip. You can jump to stop motion animation. You could change it to black and white for all it matters. Like, it's, as long as there's kind of like, in general, like, again, everything can be abstract and you can have a reason for it, but it's just like, if you can find a cohesive way to kind of stitch it all together and it feels natural and it feels seamless, or there's like one that's leading into another, I think that's like a really important skill to have. And that's you know, with the music video side of things, we've always just been like reverse engineering it. Sometimes it's like, hey, we want to use a robot arm, or hey, we want to use this and that, and it's like, oh well, how can we use that? Like, for example, we use the Phantom camera, which is the super slow motion camera. We use that in Godless because we needed that as a necessity to sell the car crash scene. Spoiler alert. But there's a car crash in there.
That's an epic scene.
Yeah, but like, essentially, we didn't have much money to do it, and you know, the team at Robot Face really helped us out with that, and we knew that we were going to shoot the car static, rock it a little bit, and then shoot a plate. But so we had it on green screen, on location though, and then we shot a plate of us driving past and reversing a car, and then we reversed that back. So we would reverse, and then we'd have the car that crashes into that car reverse back, and then we played that in reverse to make it seem as if it's, you get what I mean?
Yeah.
That it feels like it's gonna impact. But the way that sells is because on the impact, we threw all this rubber type glass, you know, fake glass at Georgia, and then we clock over into the super slow motion camera, which helped sell the impact, you know? And it's like, that's when we use like a technique or a bit of gear to be able to help sell the emotional side and to help sell the effect in general. So it's like, because all the practical stuff was there, and we can move that camera quite quickly, but it's at 1,000 frames per second. It really looked like we were still in that accident in real time.
Yeah, that's insane. I remember that clip now, and I'm just thinking how epic it was. And just, I mean, I don't think I've said this yet, but guys, if you are listening or watching this, definitely check out Godless. It's insane. It's a really, really amazing piece of work. Particularly that scene, but just a bit all of it, of course, as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You were saying before how using motifs, I guess, like the slow motion for whenever she's, you know, experiencing her trauma or reliving something outside of a right now kind of moment. It's interesting that I used high dimension before. Kind of forces you to compartmentalize, like the audience, and that's like a really cool technique to talk about. And I think maybe more people should learn about how to do that and use different techniques for it. And I suppose, do you know any others? Have you used any others that sort of do that in a way that maybe not slow motion, or, you know, but yeah, like to talk about that a little bit. If you
no, but like, I mean, that's a really good thing to ask, and also the fact that this is a sound podcast as well, so it's like, you know, that's a really important one. So we have sound motifs as well. It's like, for example, both Dimitri and Benny, you know, really played with those kind of elements. Dimitri has like themes for like when you would see Lara and her dancing, the character of Lara. He would have a theme song for, you know, Daniel James King, who's the villain in the film. And like, you know, and even if he's tweaking that a little bit, the melody is still in there, you know? So it's like, that kind of gives you like a familiarity of like, oh, okay, like emotionally, you can feel that familiarity. And Benny as well, like every time she's being touched, it was something that was like very conscious for me early on, where it's like I wanted it to be inside her skull, you know, like I wanted it to be like as if, you know, when I touch you, like when I put my hands through your hair, obviously with consent, because I wouldn't do that to you, but like if I put my hands through your hair, it sounds different than you hearing me putting it through someone's hair, right? Of course. So I wanted it to feel really invasive for her. So like that was something that we were really conscious with. No one else has that, but every time Lara is being touched, you can hear it over the top, and it feels a little bit bassier and weightier. Not to mention the fact that Benny was playing with the channels and making sure that sound was kind of like womp womp womp, like, and you can feel that. You don't really know why you're unsettled, but it's because he's designing that all in the background, and I guess that's why those two did so well and got AACTA nominations for it as well, because they really knew how to play with that.
Yeah.
So I think does that answer the question?
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. I think sound is obviously a massive one. Both so Dimitri, the composer, and Benny, the mixing engineer. I think those things tie well together anyway. But I suppose the use of where you place the sound, it would have probably been really cool in Dolby Atmos as well if you had like speakers above you and things. But I know it was mixed in 7.1, I believe. I've spoken to Benny about that before.
I think so. Yeah. So
I'll have to try and convince him to do the Dolby Atmos version. But anyway,
he's gonna have to. Yeah. We'll have to redo it, and then just kind of do like what it would be a sound designer's cut of the film, not a director's cut, but the sound designer
if
cut.
People are interested in that, I would buy it. But the thing is, if you did that, with what it's called is divergence, where you have a sound that's sort of in between speakers and they kind of overlap, right?
Yeah.
So in Dolby Atmos, it's sort of very much using that technique all the time because it's supposed to not matter how many speakers. But I suppose, what he may have done there, and I'll have to talk to him about this when he jumps on, is so like to get that feeling of it being you that is receiving that, right? You'd have to feel it all the way around you, and it would not feel like something that's happening in front of you, but it's actually you are in that perspective. So that's very interesting. I'll talk to him next time I think about that one. So what are you working on next? What's the next thing for you?
So I've got a few projects that I'm kind of attached to. There's one that I'm working with Steph Troost, which is called Redwick at the moment. The title may change, but it's like a witch film. So that's an exciting one. There's Muck Up Day, which is with Tuesday Films, and that's like a fun action horror kind of slasher film. That's happening. There's The Body Farm, which is Brianna Gardner's film, and Mike Gerbino. That's a US production. And then I'm working on a bunch of stuff with the Sushi Mango Boys, so that's always fun and crazy. Yep. And there's a big one that I can't announce just yet, but when I do, you'll be the first one to know. So I'll let you know, but that's a bigger one that's happening hopefully next year. But all of these are happening next year, which is kind of scary. I might fall off a cliff with a bunch of films, but it's kind of like a matter of like you throw enough at the wall and hopefully one of them will stick. So I'm just kind of like in a situation where there's a few circling and we're just trying to put them into timelines to make them achievable.
Yeah, that makes sense. I wanted to mention as well, so with Godless at the AACTAs, I saw you guys go down there into Queensland.
Yeah.
I was going to go because I had a film that was running as well called Get Free. Didn't end up being able to go, but have you been to the AACTA Awards like that before?
Yeah, so not as a nominee. So it's like, we had 3 nominations for that, which was really kind of wild and cool.
I know Benny got one.
I went Benny, Dimitri, Carl. So it was like it was wild, and I hadn't gone with a film. I went as a special guest the year prior because I did like a panel on music videos,
cool. Yeah.
And it was a fun event. I think that was in Sydney,
right? And
then this year was in Queensland.
Yes.
So it was like very different vibe, but both were really cool.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
it was a fun event. It was weird to kind of get in on that red carpet and all that, like it always is. It's so surreal, but it's always just a fun time and it's a laugh. And yeah, it was cool. It was a cool night. They didn't get the chocolates, but there was other films that were there that were, the biggest films ever, like Talk to Me, that picked up a lot of those awards. There were like such incredible films. Like we were just so honored to be a part of such a crazy, amazing lineup. There were amazing films there, but like also films that we had toured with as well. Like the Monolith team were there, and their film was fantastic and brilliant, and they got nominated for best film under like a certain budget, I think it was, or was it I don't know what it was, but like that team deserved all the nominations, and whatever they got, it was really cool. So that was like a cool team to kind of hang out with at that point as well.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, no, it's a fun thing. And going to these events and things, I think that's, like you were talking about networking before and how important that is. If you can, I mean, Actors is obviously a big one, that there's the membership and all that, but it is worth it, I think, and that you do get to meet a lot of amazing people by attending these things,
Yeah, I was lucky. Like Simon was there from Tuesday, and that's like I Choose You Tuesday Films, not Tuesday the day. But he had watched Godless, and he's just like, "Hey, I'm a producer. I'm trying to get some films off the ground. What have you got on?" And I'm like, "I got nothing going on. I'm just here with Godless." And he's just like, "Do you want to chat about this?" And it opened up a conversation, and we're now working together on that film that he pitched to me, who Jess Liley is the writer and Kia Roach Turner is the producer. And it's just like, Kia is like one of my influences, big inspiration for me in the film industry. So it's like,
it's amazing
to be having conversations with him, and him being my EP, my boss, kind of thing, has just been really cool.
Yeah. Well, I suppose that's how it happens, isn't it? Yeah, you've got to be in it to win it, as they say. Just do amazing things, and or at least try to make something cool, because it's awesome, and that's when things can happen.
Yeah, totally.
Thanks so much for coming on and just talking to me about all these incredible things.
No, that's all right. Thank you for having me, man. This is a cool platform. I can't wait to hear some of the other guests that you've got on, and, get some more insight into everything Dolby and everything sound, but also just to hear other filmmakers' journeys, because it's like, there's no one way, because if it was, everyone would do it, right? So it's like, it's always cool to see how everyone else has tackled this weird and wonderful industry that we're in.
That's a perfect way to say it. Yeah, and I appreciate that. And I think, we'll definitely be having some more people on talking about all kinds of different things, not just Dolby Atmos. There's a bit of clickbait there, but the Dolby Atmos podcast, I suppose, is it's just talking about anything immersive, and obviously that idea is the immersive. Like Dolby's just one of them, but there's so many ways to be immersive or immersed in films and games and everything. So that's what we're trying to do. Talk to creative, incredible people like yourself to just talk about it, so that we can all get a little bit better. So
yeah, totally.
I might just wrap it up here, man. So thanks again, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.
No worries. Catch you later.